Welcome to Nathan Benderson Park. We have the IRA Sarasota Invitational here this morning. My name is Steve Todd. I'm a 1999 graduate of University of Washington, former head coach at Oregon State University. I'm excited to bring you some great racing here. 3 of the top teams in the country. We have a schedule of 4 races coming at you this morning. 11:40 a.m. We have the 4th Varsity 8s coming up. 3rd Varsity 8s at 11:50. The 2nd Varsity's at noon, and at the 12:10 we will have the Varsity 8s race between Brown, Yale, and Washington. So very excited to come to you here and check out all the crews and bring you alongside for a great series of racing. So we've got the 4th Varsity 8 coming from Brown coming up here. As we take a look at the lineups, the Brown 4th Varsity, we have Lizzie Mitchell coxing, Joseph Olangdoy at the stroke seat, Colin Baker at 7, Parker Vaname at 6, Gordon Milovac at 5, Adrian Johansson at 4, Andrew Simpson at 3, Marcus Winter in 2, and in the bow, Matt Boranian. And that's the Brown A boat for this race. This race we have 2 Brown crews, and then they running alongside the Yale 4th Varsity and the Washington 4th Varsity as well. The Brown B crew, Vijay Ramakrishnan is the coxswain, Asher Swidler is your stroke seat, Tommy Laserhon is in 7, Ben Shore in 6, Nick Gansler in 5, Tristan Green in 4, Ivan Augustinov in 3, Wilhelm Lebrun in 2, and Tim Zhao in bow for the Brown B boat. Take a look at our lineups here, and then we'll get you out to the race course. We're going to have a great view of the course with a starting line camera, a drone flying above, and a finish line camera as well. We've got the Yale 4th Varsity here. Grace Dodd is the coxswain from Washington, D.C., Will Burgess Watson from the UK in stroke seat, Stuart Fuqua in 6, Beecher Porter in 6, Beecher Porter's in 6, Cam Matasassian in 5, Will Sharis in 4, Hank Mikulak in 3, Axel Wergeland in 2, and Will Aiken in bow seat for Yale. And we got the Washington lineup coming up here. Washington, the all-freshman boat for Washington here. Tess Kadian in coxswain, Finn Kriskauskas in stroke seat, Oliver Black at 7, Nick Smythe in 6, Ryan Martin in 5, Lyle Donovan in 4, Mark Tennyson in 3, Tommy Ego in 2, and Max Taylor in bow for the Huskies. So I'm joined here. We are on site with our cameras down in Sarasota and announcing live from Conabear Shell House here in Seattle. And right next to me, we have, it's great to have a Brown alumni here helping us call the races. I have Nils Pullman, class of 1994 from Brown, rode for Coach Gladstone, who is Yale's head coach. Nils, welcome to Conabear. Excited to have you here.
Thanks, Steve. Very excited to be here. It's a beautiful venue down in Florida, and looking forward to some great racing.
Yeah, it looks like the crews are just kind of getting arranged and coming into the starting platform here. This venue, Nathan Benderson Park, is just in the Bradenton, Florida area, just outside of Sarasota. A fantastic venue that was fairly newly created when we look at courses across the country. It's been developed by the Benderson Corporation to be a world-class rowing venue, and it's sure been a world-class rowing venue, hosting the World Championships in 2017, the Under-23 Championships in 2019. And Nils, you've been down there a couple times. You've seen some racing. What are your thoughts on the race course, and what do the Huskies and Bears and Bulldogs have to expect today?
Yeah, so as you were mentioning, this is a purpose-built course for rowing. It runs south to north. And what you'll see is there's a little bit of wind that tends to come from the southwest, and it's variable as you go down the course. I expect that we'll see some higher stroke ratings as the crews encounter the tailwind.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see some crews going after this very aggressively because, for one, Washington doesn't get the chance to race against these East Coast crews the rest of the season until the IRA. And Brown and Yale, they really want to go head-to-head, and Brown has some purpose here to show what they can do against Yale, that top Ivy League crew. Brown gave him a good run at the Eastern Sprints. A great race from Brown at the IRAs to finish third in that Varsity 8. But these three teams, deep, strong teams, is kind of the signature of these programs. Yale was your number one in the 10 Ike Trophy. That's the team overall champion at the 2022 IRA. Brown was finished fourth in the 10 Ike, and Washington third in the 10 Ike. So team depth, quality athletes, top to bottom, that is a signature of all these crews. We're just getting backed in. Just going to kind of talk a little bit about each crew here, or each program. Yale is led by Steve Gladstone, been in rowing for many years. Final year at Yale University this year. Steve's done a fantastic job coaching the Bulldogs to 3 IRA gold medals over that time. Paul Cook's been leading the program at Brown for 22 years there at Brown University. And Coach Michael Callahan is one of the best coaches that Washington's had, leading the Huskies to 7 IRA national championships. So we got the crews locked in. Nice starting platform. You can see the water from the drone view. A little bit of chop, not too bad. Just that touch of tailwind coming down.
Yeah, Steve, when you look at these lineups, there's really a lot of depth here. A number of U23 rowers on all of the programs. So really we're going to see some top-notch rowing today.
Yeah, and we got to just fill a little bit of time here. We have a breakage in the race ahead of us, delayed things just a bit. So we're starting just a few minutes behind. We'll try to catch up to the program here pretty quick, but 8:45, we were supposed to be on an 8:40 start for this race, 8:45. We're just about 5 minutes behind, some breakage in that previous women's race. So we're just kind of holding tight here. It looks like the crews are now in. We have the referee launches up at the start line, getting ready for this first race. We've got the 4th Varsity 8s. And so looking at the screen here, as we come across here, we've got the Brown B boat is in the lane closest to us. So as you're looking from the drone or from the side, the Brown crew is in lane 3, which will be the closest to us. That's the Brown 5th Varsity boat. And then next to them in lane number 4 will be Yale. Brown's A boat in the picture and lane 5. And then over in lane 6 is the University of Washington crew. So we have the crews all set up at the start. So as you're looking at this picture, you've got Brown, Yale, Brown, and then Washington up there at the top. And it looks like we have a start. Apologize for any problems with the picture here. We're just trying to get that connection solidified. But we have a start. Looks like we're tough to tell who's out front right now, but it would appear that it's Brown and Yale in the Yale boat that's in lane number 4, and Brown next to them in 5 with the Brown and Yale, the Brown B boat and the Washington boat trailing. So a little tough to get rates right now from the picture, but we'll see the best we can here in just a second.
In the Brown A 4th varsity, we've got the stroke Joseph Olagundoy from England, who was on the U19 UK team. In 7th seat is Colin Baker, son of Malcolm Baker, who was on the 92 Olympic 8 from the U.S.
Yeah, and there's quality. One thing we were talking about just before we went on air is just the high quality of recruiting that these 3 programs do. You'll see many under 23 contenders, some Olympians rowing for some of these programs. The quality of recruiting is outstanding. Everybody here has really developed as a rower before coming to the universities. There's some walk-ons, some Washington athletes in here that are in their first year of rowing at the University of Washington as well. But right now, Yale looks to be completely in charge here in lane number 4, about a length up on the Brown A boat. The Brown A boat about 6 seats or so on Washington, and Washington just cracking bow to stern on the Brown 5V boat here. So things are spreading out a little bit across the course. You can see that little bit of chop pushing the crews from behind the back, the wind at their stern. So that we should see some pretty fast times here, and we'll get those times to you as the races finish and give you those full results when we have them. So from above here, we're just getting a little bit of glitchiness on the drone view, but still good chance to see how the margins are shaking out here in the first 1,000. Yale definitely has just increased their lead a little bit. Sorry, we apologize for not being able to get the stroke rates here. Washington has been able to stick around with that Brown A boat. We might see a good second half from the race coming from those two. But Yale sure looks to be in control. And that was one of the signatures for Yale last year. The best depth as a team was one of the things that Coach Gladstone talked about last year with the 2022 squad. And it looks like that's continuing here for Yale in 2023. Very strong from top to bottom. Last year's crew, led by Dan Williamson, one of the Olympians from New Zealand, was one of the real critical parts of the 2022 Yale crews, and just that talent and depth that the Coach Gladstone, Mike Gennaro, Matt Fleur have been able to develop there this 2023 season. We're really seeing that coming from Yale here in this first race so far.
Yeah, it looks like Yale's opening up a little open water.
Yep, the picture's just Yale has that open water lead, and it looks like Washington kind of trying to make a statement and move back into the margin that Brown had off the start here. I think that Washington's probably moved up a seat or two. It looks to be about half a length between those two, between the Brown A boat and the Washington A boat here in the 4th Varsity 8s race. So Washington, you've got their stroke seat, Finn Griskauskas. He is from Chesterfield, Missouri, St. Louis Rowing Club. We've also got a couple of other athletes in that Husky crew from a lot of good, solid junior programs here around the Seattle area. Mark Tennyson rode for Pocock Rowing Center. We've got, it looks like that Washington boat starting to push back, and we can see now in the picture, you got the beach coming up, coming near the finish line, the boating up area of the Benderson Park here, and we'll see the finish line tower in just a second here. But the drone, we're just got a good view to see looking down on the cruise, and it looks like Washington and Brown right there, solid, right next to each other. We'll see if we can get that finish line camera for you to catch the margin at the finish of this Washington and Brown battle.
And you can see the beach here is a great place to watch the race from as the crews come to the finish. Looks like we've got some good spectators out there today. A little bit of chop on the water coming into the finish.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but anything will do. For these guys, it's also about 80 degrees and sunny in Florida. It's a pretty nice little chance to train and race down there at a great venue. So it looks like Yale coming up here to that finish line tower in first here. We'll get the results for you in just a second, but Washington really trying to push into Brown. Looks like Brown has held them off here just at the finish line, and it looks like Brown took it. So we got a Yale coming away in that 4th Varsity 8 victory, and Brown in second and Yale in third. And I think we're going to be up to the start line from that little delay. We'll be back up to the start line really quick here for the start of the 3rd Varsity 8s race. So coming back up, we'll get those results to you as soon as we can. But the 3rd Varsity 8s here, we've got in lane number 3. That's going to be closest to us on the screen. We're right at the starting line camera right now. We got Brown up close to us. One that was So we'll get back up to the drone view here in just a second. But we do have Brown, the Brown 3rd Varsity 8 here. Matt Rose is your coxswain. Tom Griffin at the stroke seat. Keenan O'Donnell at 7. Mies Ducru de Jong in 6th seat from the Netherlands. Sky Bacon from New York in 5-seat. George Lawton, one of your captains for Brown, in 4-seat of this third varsity. Oliver Page-Kerr from Seattle in 3. Adam von Bismarck in 2. And Connor Pryor in the bow seat for Brown. So we're going to try to get a picture of the race here in just a second for you. But Yale there in the middle. Yale has Thomas Allen coxing, Alex Potter in stroke seat, Felix Mibius in 7, Clancy Doe in 6, Zach Day in 5, Archie McChesney in 4, Hans Vecek in 3, Ben Wiegand in 2, and Ed Sharp in bow for Yale. So that's the Yale third varsity, and we're going to move on and take a look at your Husky third varsity here. The Huskies got Kieran Joyce from New Zealand, the sophomore, in cox and seat. Max Mason from Redmond in the stroke man. Luke Henry in 7-seat for the Dogs. Gus Alchert in 6. Ethan Blight in 5. Archie Drummond in 4. Harry Fitzpatrick in 3. Marius Alsland in 2. And Julia Asarense in the bow seat for the Dogs.
And it looks like we do have the finish times from that first race. Yale in first place at 5:45, pretty fast time. And
yeah, not bad.
Brown just ahead of UW at 5:50.
Yeah, so Brown and Washington there in that first race, very tight together. And it looks like we got a little bit tighter racing here in this third varsity 8. As we're up above, you can see in the middle there is Yale. Yale doing a nice job pressing that lead and just kind of trying to take seats from Washington, take seats from Yale as they move through the middle and the body of the course. So Yale, a pretty experienced group here, a pair of juniors that were both in the third varsity 8 last year at the stroke pair, Alex Potter from Sydney and Felix Mebius from the Netherlands in the 7-man. So I think that the Yale, that experience from their third varsity crews that won sprints, that won IRAs, that's the two that are leading this third varsity this year for Yale as well. So they know exactly what to do. They've been putting down a good, solid body of the race to take that almost up to a length lead here on Washington and Brown. And we're going to check and see what the margin is with Washington and Brown here as we get into the second half of the race. So apologize we'll try to get you that drone picture here in just a second. Back up to that start. What was the margin between the Brown and Washington there? It was just a less than half a second between those two. Yeah, we had just, 550.3 and 550.85, half a second there between Washington and Brown. So the Huskies did a nice job moving back into Brown during the second half of that race, but Brown had an excellent start in that fourth varsity and held that margin just enough to kind of hold off the Huskies at the end there. So that Husky crew, as we were saying, that fourth varsity was all freshmen for them, so all grunties for those Husky alums out there. You know, you're very familiar with what the grunties are, the first-year rowers here at the Conabare Shell House. And we're going to be back up for the hopefully see the end of the 3V race here and then get you up to the start for the second varsities in just a few minutes.
Yeah, it's some great early season racing that the crews can build on.
Yeah, and it's important for all of these boats to kind of take what they learned down here in Sarasota, and they're going to have to apply it for the next few weeks, in the next few races, where things, as everybody that knows rowing knows through the season, things kind of ramp up. This is an important race for all of these crews, but as things get towards the end, Washington has their Cal Duel April 22nd up here in Seattle, and then on to the Pac-12 championships, and then on to the IRAs. Brown, it's going to be going up against, last week they had their first race of the year when Brown and Brown and Boston University raced, and they won 3 of 4 against Boston on the Charles there. And then they're building in along with Yale to go into the Eastern Sprints and moving into the IRAs, and then on to the Harvard-Yale race for Yale to finish up the season. So looks like we're now up to that second varsity. I think we've got the second varsity race on the course here. The 2Vs We've got the same. We've got Washington now is going to be in the lane closest to us. Washington rowing the Carl Lovestead is going to be in the lane closest to us on the picture. We're at the start line camera right here. And we've got Brown in the middle with Yale on the outside for the second varsity eights race here.
I was talking to Coach Cook, and he's looking forward to seeing how the crews do with this this tailwind. Quite a change from last week at the Charles, where they had a big headwind.
Yeah, a little bit colder up there on the Charles, too. So completely different conditions to race in. And for the Huskies, they were down in Chula Vista last week, down at the Olympic Training Center there south of San Diego. Ended up racing just a head-to-head race with UC San Diego to finish off their training camp, but had a good chance to train all week down there, come back, get back into school up here, and then head down to Florida for this big early season race of the second varsities now we're looking at here. So Washington, let's go over their lineup really quick. Zach Kassler, your coxswain from Newport Beach, California, is in that coxswain seat. He's a graduate student now, so been here helping the dogs for a number of years. Michael Thiers from Seattle is your stroke man. Jonathan Weg Noriand is the 7-man. Ryan Smith in 6, Blake Vogel in 5, Pablo Matan in 4, Adam Kroll in 3, Ben Short in 2-seat, and Blake Bradshaw is your bow man for the Huskies. We'll move on to the middle lane here. The middle lane, we have Brown in the middle between Washington and Yale. Ian Emery's your coxswain. Dom Vault is the stroke man. Nate Swidler from the UK is 7. David Person from South Africa is in 6th seat, a freshman. And Josh Golbus from Plymouth, Minnesota in 5. William Stoop from the Netherlands in 4. Ian Burnett in 3-seat, Davis Kelly from Vashon Island, Washington in 2-seat, and James Scott in bow from Australia. So we've got a good crew from Brown here in that second varsity 8 as well. So Justin Lobo is your coxswain now for the Yale men in the second varsity. And we got Josh, I don't know if we have the right.
Looks like we may have jumped ahead
This
to
is
the varsity lineups.
Yeah, we'll get the correct lineup of the Yale second varsity for you. There you go. Justin Lobo, Josh Hills, your stroke seat. Nicola Buckuk, sorry about that name, is in 7. Lucia Leoton in 6. Lexi McLean from Sydney in 5. Max Gillard from the UK in 4. Matt Hansen in 3. Patty Craig in 2. And Jacob Biljak in bow seat for Yale's second varsity 8. So we're going to take a look here, see if we can catch up to the second varsity and check some margins for you.
So 3 freshmen in the Brown JV. Hopefully a sign of good things to come for the program.
Yeah, lots of younger men racing in some of the, and it's kind of the way it used to be with freshman 8s, second varsity 8s, then varsity 8s. The way things have changed, now freshmen eligible for all events. You'll see some freshmen racing up into the varsity crews, a few in the second varsity. Most freshmen end up racing kind of the lower boats, the second, third varsity 8s, and then moving their way up as they progress through their class years. But here we are, we got the second varsity 8, and it looks out in the middle here of the second varsity. That Brown crew doing a very nice job in the middle. And Yale and Washington battling for that second place position, but Brown putting it down, putting together a great race. Coach Cook's got to be excited to see this race coming from the young men from Brown. Doing a very nice job on the front end here, pressing that race, controlling the race early on, and taking a huge lead really off of 2 of the other really talented second varsity 8s in the country. I think that when we get to the IRA, this is a statement piece from Brown. This might be a statement piece for Brown as a program and for these individual guys, showing Coach Cook that, hey, take a look at me for that 1V, because this second varsity for Brown is really performing well. To get a big open water lead like that on 2 talented crews from Washington and Yale, something is going excellent in that Brown second varsity right now.
I know there's been some lineup changes from last week in the Brown boat, so there's a lot of contenders for the first, second, third, fourth boats. I think they're all gunning for it, and this is a big showing by the JV.
Yeah, great effort by them. And it looks now just we got that camera panning up to near the finish line. It looks like the Washington second varsity took a very strong second half of the piece and has come back to take Yale. Not catching up to Brown. Looks like Brown might have still had just a touch of open water there. We'll get the results to you as soon as we can. And Yale in third there. But fantastic showing by that Brown 1V. Or sorry, that Brown 2V. So we got the Washington men winning the third varsity 8 in a time of 5:35.4. Yale in the third varsity was 5:36.8, and Brown 5:39.6. So pretty awesome to see. I think this is what all the coaches were hoping to see when you get three talented programs like this. We've gone through the first 3 out of 4 events, and one crew from each school has won each of these events so far. Yale winning the fourth varsity, Washington winning the third varsity, and we're going to get those times, those official times for you for the second varsity here in just a second once those post. But good race, and now we got our final of the day coming up here. A short series of races from Nathan Benderson Park. It's pretty cool what they've had going on down here. They've also had the FIRA, the FIRA championships, which is the IRA schools that are from Florida, Jacksonville, Stetson, and FIT, the varsity programs for men from Florida, are racing alongside a lot of the Florida club programs to decide a Florida state champion. And there's some women's racing going on as well. A bunch of Division I programs, Miami, Wisconsin, Central Florida, Drexel, Tulsa, and a number of other Division I women's crews racing here today at Benderson Park. So let's take a look to see if we got the second varsity 8's results here before we move on to that varsity race. So Brown, quick, 5:33.19. Washington, 5:36.83. And Yale, 5:38.53. So for this early in the year, it's warm, it's fast. The water's probably much warmer than the Seekonk or the Connecticut or Lake Washington. But that's why you're down here in Florida, is to get some fast racing in. You got a pretty good tailwind kicking. Excited to see this varsity race and what athletes of this level can throw down over a 2K course here. We could have some really thrilling races coming up here for the varsity in just a minute.
Absolutely, Steve. With the tailwind here in these super fast times, it's harder to get separation from the other boats. And so you're really going to have sharp blade work to get a lead out in this race.
Yeah, and then the important thing, when the race is condensed, when you have that tailwind kind of pushing things from, I think last week we saw the Brown race with Boston with a headwind and stuff, it was more closer to the 6-minute mark. Now we're pushing 5:30, sub 5:30 for these varsities today. It's really critical to have that excellent start, control your race, that first 500, establish yourself. You don't want to lose the race in that first 500 to the point where the other crew is going to be able to just control and dictate what goes on throughout the remainder of the race course here. So up to the race course, up to the top, the start line. I think the crews are locked in now. We'll see if we get them on the start here. And let's take a look. We'll go through your lineups here for these 3 elite crews here. The 1Vs. We've got Yale, the number 2 in the latest IRA coaches poll. California was your number 1. They're racing down at the San Diego Crew Classic today. Harry Keenan, a very experienced coxswain from Sydney, Australia, is the Yale coxswain. Harry Geffen, your stroke man from London, is in there for Yale. Miles Beeson in 7th seat. Nick Rusher it's the 6th seat. Miles Beeson, was the 7-man. Fergus Hamilton from Australia is in 5. Oh, and we have a start here. We're going to keep looking through your lineups here really quick. Does look like a very good start from Yale. But let's finish with the Yale lineup here. Sivert Semmenstad from Norway in 4th seat. Yarrow Mikolov from Massachusetts in 3. Marcus Emmett from Australia in 2. And Liam Galloway in the bow seat for Yale. So great start from Yale. And let's take a look here now. In the middle, we have Washington. Nick Dunlop is your coxswain. Darcy McCluskey, the stroke man from Australia. Jack Walke from Victoria in 7. Logan Ulrich from New Zealand in 6. Freshman Pavlis Juskavisk from Lithuania in 5 seat. Cameron Tasker in 4. Robert Plumert from the Netherlands in 3. Joel Cullen in 2 seat. And from Seattle, Max Hyde in the bow seat for the dogs here. So right now, we've got Yale up, Washington in the middle there between Yale and Brown kind of hanging tight with Yale here in the early going. So Washington getting pushed back a little bit by the Yale crew. They've still got good overlap between the 3 boats. Washington definitely not out of reach for either of these crews in the first third of the race or so. Brown trying to hang as best they can with Yale here. So as we look at the screen, we've got Yale on the bottom in lane number 3, Washington 4, and Brown in 5 here. And let's check that Brown lineup really quick. Brown, an excellent experienced crew. As we said, Brown's coming in at number 5 in the IRA coaches poll. Last week they had that victory over Boston University up on the Charles. Jack Giovanni is your coxswain for Brown. Will Leganzowski is the stroke man, of good experienced stroke seat for Coach Cook. Connor Brown in 7. Charlie Fargo, the captain, in 6 seat from Illinois. Eno Monk from Germany in 5 seat, sophomore. Gabriel Mahler from the Czech Republic in 4. Simon Hatcher in 3 seat from Portland. First time racing in that in this varsity 8 this year. Kai Hoyt from Berkeley in 2 seat, and Harry Church in the bow seat, holding it down for Bruno. And we've got Washington kind of trying to get off of that start. They're kind of moving back into the Brown crew. Yale hasn't really been able to fully break away from the other 2 crews yet, but we still have good overlap between all 3. Yale's certainly in control of the race in the first half, though.
Yeah, these are very experienced crews. The Brown varsity, led by some U23 veterans. Stroke Will Leganzowski was the stroke of the U23 8. Lots of experience in all the boats here.
Yeah, all 3 of these crews, a ton of U23 experience, a ton of IRA experience, lots of guys that have had really good success at the junior level, the collegiate level, and now moving in as they get older into the international level. But Coach Gladstone's got to be pretty pleased with the look of this Yale varsity here. Good, strong send, a signature of Yale for the past few years. That really good push and layback through the second half of the drive, really accelerating the boat along is what Yale has been doing very well here. And it looks like we've got, apologize again for any glitchiness with the cameras, but we've got a pretty tight race here between Brown and Washington. It looks like Washington might have just come up just nudging past the University of, Washington just nudging past Brown University here as we get towards the end of the race here and approach the island. But Yale certainly in control of it here. We'll get another good picture when we can. Yale, good extension. You can see kind of just, as I said, that signature of just how powerful Yale is through the back end, and then also the just strong crispness of the catch on the front end. Very exciting for Coach Gladstone, Coach Mike Gennaro to see the Yale varsity men performing like this today. So as we said, we had one winner from each school in those first 3 events. Now Washington's going to see if they can give Yale a little test here. It's a lot of room to make up, but Washington's really going to try to put it all together here in the last 250, 300 meters to see if they can move up and just collect a few more seats, maybe pick off Yale at the end here with an awesome sprint. But the Huskies look like it's going to be maybe just a little too much that they've let Yale have in the first 1,500. So Coach Steve Gladstone leading his Yale men for the last year here in 2023. Good start to the season. Yale's going to be back on the water against Dartmouth. And it looks like Yale's got Washington. Looks like Washington really closed the gap there. So Coach Callan's got something to be encouraged by with that strong sprint. Brown coming in just a little, maybe a touch of open water. We'll try to get those results to you in just a second. But Brown just trailing the 2 lead crews. So Yale coming away with the win in the varsity 8. So that's 2 wins for Yale on the day, a win for Brown in the second varsity, and win for Washington in the third varsity. So we'll get these, see if we can get these results to you, and then we'll be signing out for another week here. But Washington performing well. Thanks for putting this all together. Henry Prosser on the production of it. And we don't have the results for this yet. We'll be to you with just a second to get those results of this last race. But excited to see what these crews all do next. Washington has, they're coming up down to Dexter Lake for the Oregon State Duel in Oregon at the Covered Bridge Regatta, April 8th. The California Duel here at home, April 22nd. We want to pack the cut for that. Windermere Cup, we got a great Australian crew coming for Windermere Cup on May 1st, and be back down to Dexter for the Pac-12 Championships May 14th. And then all 3 of these crews will be meeting back at the IRA Championship at Mercer Lake in New Jersey at the first Saturday and Sunday of June. Going to be a very exciting race to see. I think that what we saw today, very deep programs, very strong programs from all 3 of these. Can they catch Cal? That's going to be the other question. California's very, very good. Yale and Washington certainly showing that they are right there at that level. I think it was a fantastic race from Washington to come back on Yale there, but Yale really controlling the body and that strong middle of the race there. Let's check this and see if we do have those final results before we sign off here. Looks like we're just still waiting on those times to see, but we'd like to really thank everybody for watching. You can always check these results. Crew timer, regatta timing is where you can find the results here. We'll see if we can get this before we sign off. Sorry about the delay, folks.
There's a link to the results off of the Washington rowing page. Be interested to see if Yale broke 5:30 in that race. There was clearly an impressive performance there.
Yeah, the way that wind was pushing them down, it was very quick. Very good performance by those guys, and we will see what those results are. So, folks, I apologize for not getting the official times out to you, but we're going to sign off. Thanks to the Washington Rowing Stewards for helping us be able to put these live streams out to you. Fishbowl Media and Henry Prosser for producing this, and Sarasota Drone Guy for getting us up in the air for a great view of the race course. So, thanks for joining us. Signing off for Niels Pullman from Brown and Steve Todd from Washington. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you at the race course again soon.
All right, thank you.